In the quaint town of Carnation, Washington, where Christmas Eves are usually filled with warmth and twinkling lights, the Anderson family's world was rocked by an unthinkable tragedy. Wayne and Judy Anderson, known for their generous hearts and the close bond with their children, Michelle and Scott, had their lives turned upside down. Michelle, a creative soul, met Joseph McEnroe online in 2002, and it's fair to say it was a whirlwind romance with more than its fair share of ups and downs. Joseph, quirky and battling his inner demons, plunged into a relationship with Michelle that was anything but ordinary. Their life together was like a mystery novel, with blacked-out windows in their home painting a picture of the tension and jealousy lurking within, especially around Michelle's parents' wealth. It was a world shrouded in isolation and suspicion, like a thriller you can't put down. Fast forward to 2006, and things took a turn. Financial struggles nudged Michelle and Joseph to move into a motorhome on her parents' property. Picture this. On Christmas Eve, 2007, the Andersons are all set for a festive family dinner. The scene was almost perfect, with Michelle and Joseph joining Scott, his wife, Erica, and their adorable kids. But there's a twist. Another Anderson sibling, Mary, couldn't make it due to illness, leaving a noticeable gap at the dinner table. Now, here's where it gets chilling. Michelle and Joseph had a secret, a dark pact. They decided that if Michelle didn't get the respect she craved from her family by December 24th, they'd take matters into their own hands. What happened next is the kind of shocker you'd expect in a suspense novel, showcasing just how deep and dark betrayal can run in a family drama. On that fateful Christmas Eve, the Anderson household, usually a hub of holiday cheer, became the setting for a chilling turn of events. Michelle and her partner Joseph arrived amidst the festive atmosphere. But in a shocking moment, Michelle tried to shoot her dad, only for her gun to jam. The sound of the gunshot rang through the house, alarming everyone. Judy, Michelle's mom, and Joseph quickly rushed towards the noise. Judy's terrified screams filled the air, but they were abruptly silenced by Joseph's gunfire. In the blink of an eye, Michelle's parents lay motionless, marking a grim start to the night's events. The horror was far from over. The couple then lay in wait for Michelle's brother, Scott, and his family. As they arrived, unsuspecting of the nightmare inside, a dreadful confrontation ensued. Michelle, gun in hand, aimed at Scott. A desperate struggle broke out, with Joseph joining in. Scott put up a brave fight, but ultimately, Michelle's fatal shot brought his struggle to an end. In the midst of this turmoil, Erica, Scott's wife, emerged as a figure of incredible bravery. Despite her injuries, she valiantly tried to protect her young children. She managed to dial 911, but tragically, only her screams were heard on the other end. Joseph quickly intervened, ending her desperate pleas for help. But the nightmare didn't stop there. The couple then turned their attention to the young children, aged 3 and 5. In a senseless act of violence, Joseph took their lives, extinguishing their innocent futures. As police arrived at the scene, a bizarre twist prevented them from discovering the tragedy. A locked gate at the driveway seemed to halt their investigation, leading them to leave the scene prematurely, marked as unable to gain access. It was a night that would forever haunt the small community, a reminder of the unimaginable horrors that can occur behind closed doors. 2 days after that quiet Christmas Eve, on December 26th, worry started to bubble up. Judy hadn't shown up for work, and her friends, sensing something was off, decided to check on her. They bypassed the locked gate and stepped into the house, only to stumble upon a scene straight out of a horror movie. Meanwhile, Michelle and Joseph, whose Vegas wedding had fizzled out, quickly became the prime suspects in this tragic family massacre. Later, in a twist that shocked everyone, they confessed to orchestrating the whole thing, cleverly manipulating McEnroe and even the police's arrival. Detective Tompkins, trying to make sense of it all, gently prodded Michelle about her calm demeanor amidst the flurry of police activity, media frenzy, and his own investigation. Michelle, with a cool and distant air, oddly asked about a fire at her parents' house, raising more red flags. The more the detectives dug, the more Michelle's Vegas elopement story started to come apart at the seams. Detective Tompkins, looking for the truth, asked her point blank if she could ever hurt her family. Her simple no was a thin veil over a much darker truth. As the interrogation heated up, Michelle's cool exterior began to crack. Detective Peterson's soft questioning was met with cryptic answers. Seizing the moment, Detective Tompkins hinted at their expertise in uncovering the truth. And then, in a moment heavy with emotion, Michelle's confession broke through, a reluctant admission of guilt that hung heavy in the room. "It's my fault." It was a revelation that sent shockwaves through everyone, unraveling a tale of deception and heartbreak in this once peaceful town. The core of Michelle's deep-seated anger was her brother Scott's $40,000 debt and her resentment towards her parents for their financial support of him. Adding fuel to the fire was her frustration over her parents suddenly demanding rent after a year of living for free. When their trials finally got underway, after numerous delays due to debates on the death penalty, the shocking truth of that tragic night in Carnation was exposed to the world. Michelle's confession shockingly pointed to her brother's debt as the trigger for the night's gruesome events. Joseph's trial, which began in December 2014, painted a complicated picture, rife with claims of mental illness and coercion. It was suggested that Michelle had manipulated him into committing the heinous acts. The trial took an intriguing turn when Joseph's behavior in court came under scrutiny. His peculiar twitch during questioning became a focal point. He claimed he was simply working on his voice, but the twitch seemed to intensify when the jury was present and subsided when they were not, sparking speculation about his stress and anxiety levels. Joseph admitted that his most stressful experience was his interview with Detective Pavlovich, yet this twitch was conspicuously absent from the detective's notes. When probed about potentially lying to the jury, Joseph strongly denied any significant motive to do so, adding another layer of mystery to the trial proceedings in March 2015. In a courtroom verdict that left many speechless, Thomas McEnroe faced the ultimate justice for his unthinkable crimes. He was found guilty on 6 counts of first-degree murder, and the jury handed down a sentence of 6 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. Interestingly, the jury was divided 8-4 against the death penalty, narrowly missing the unanimous decision needed for such a sentence. Michelle Anderson, entangled in the same dark web of crime, surprisingly saw the death penalty removed from her case, despite her admitted guilt. Her defense team worked tirelessly to find alternative pleas, but Michelle herself had a different perspective. In a raw and emotional interview with the Seattle Times back in 2008, she openly admitted her guilt and shockingly expressed a desire to be executed for her actions. "I need to be executed for everything that I've done," she said, showcasing a rare and unsettling acceptance of her fate. For 5 long years, she even refused to cooperate with her defense team as they attempted to get her psychiatric evaluations. Meanwhile, Joseph McEnroe and Michelle Anderson are now serving their time behind bars. Joseph is locked up in the Washington State Penitentiary, while Michelle spends her days at the Washington Corrections Center for Women. And get this, prison life has thrown them into the company of some infamous inmates. Michelle once shared her cell block with Mary Kay Letourneau, the former schoolteacher whose scandalous affair and subsequent marriage to her then 12-year-old student grabbed headlines worldwide. Tragically, Letourneau passed away in 2020 due to colorectal cancer. Over at the men's penitentiary, Joseph finds himself among notorious criminals like Robert Lee Yates, the serial killer who ironically once worked at that same prison, and Jack Owen Spillman, known infamously as the Werewolf Butcher. It's a surreal twist of fate that these individuals, connected by their notorious crimes, now share the same prison walls. This whole saga begs the question, what really drove the events of that horrific Christmas Eve incarnation? It's a story that delves deep into the human psyche, exploring the darkest corners of human behavior. So, what are your thoughts on this twisted tale? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for joining us on this deep dive into one of the most chilling true crime stories.